This is the one about the driving angels. I was 2 hours into a drive I had no business making and no condition to be making it, and I said out loud to the empty car, "You gotta be with me because I'm not fully here and I don't wanna have an accident." And that was the first time I asked anyone for help in 2 years. There wasn't anyone in the car, so I asked my driving angels. Welcome back. This is Dr. Lisa, science-backed, soul-supported, the Nez Zen community. We're on day 5 of Same Place, Higher Ground, and today we're talking about what actually happens when you say it out loud. Friday's my story day, and this is the one I'm building toward all week. First, the research, because it connects something you've probably been told. Bernard Rimé at the University of Louvain has spent decades on what he calls the social sharing of emotion. And his first finding is just how universal this is. When something significant happens to a person, good or bad, somewhere between 80 and 95% of the time they tell someone, usually within a day, often more than once. We're a species that reports in. It's not a weakness of character. It's close to a reflex. Now, the part that surprised even him, sharing an emotional event does not reliably reduce the intensity of the emotion. Talking about the hard thing does not drain it out of you like water out of a bathtub. You can tell the story 10 times and still feel it at full volume. So the folk version, get it off your chest and you'll feel better, is not what the data says. What sharing reliably does is something else entirely, and I would argue something better. It rebuilds that bond. It moves you and the other person closer together, and that changes what you're able to carry, which is different from changing what you are carrying. You don't get a lighter load, you get more hands. That distinction matters enormously for this week, because if you've been avoiding telling anyone on the grounds that talking doesn't fix anything, well, you're kind of right. It doesn't, but that was never the job. So here's my day. This is the poem called Driving Angels, and it's set on a drive I had no business making. I'd gone to help my sister with her kids in the middle of my own worst stretch, which was a disastrous denial of myself, and I had to leave. And I got in the car for the long drive in a state I wasn't fit to drive in. I say out loud in the car on my own, "Driving angels, you've got to be with me because I'm not fully here and I don't want to have an accident." That is the first ask in the poem. And notice who it's addressed to. Not really a person. I wasn't ready for a person yet, believe it or not. I set it to the air, to the empty car at 60 miles an hour, which is where a lot of people start. And I'm not going to be precious about it. It counts. The day gets stranger and more generous. So the boss calls about work. I get a break on a speeding ticket, which I absolutely deserved. And then I call my son and tell him I've left my sister's, and he tells me that's the best thing I could have done. And I listen to him give me thoughtful, reasoned advice. And all I actually hear is the love in his voice, the concern, the love, and to know that I can call him during his workday and he'll answer because I'm important to him. Then my pastor from Pittsburgh calls and she prays with me. And I write that she reaches out and holds me in the hands of God. And I say plainly why I needed it, because I can't think straight. And later I get the other son on the phone from a driveway with the signal breaking up because that property had no cell reception and the landline was out again, quarter mile from my own house, catching about every third syllable because it was that or nothing. The poem names it at the end, a familiar lifeline, a lifeline from the therapist, from the pastor, from my sons on the day I really needed it most. 3 lifelines, and none of them fixed a single thing about my situation. The lawsuit was still coming. The house was still erect. The marriage was still over. Rhyme was right. The sharing didn't shrink any of it. What it did was meant that I was not the only one holding it. And that is the difference between a hard day and a day that takes you under. And if you're watching this and you're somewhere dark right now, I want to say this directly rather than leave it implied. Please tell someone you trust or call a local crisis line. Today is not a video about doing it by yourself with better technique. Today's practice, make the smallest possible request. Not a summary of your life, but just one sentence to a person. Can I tell you something I haven't told anyone? In quotes. Or if a person is genuinely too much today, say it out loud in the car with nobody there. And that was my first one, and it certainly counted. The point is that it leaves your body and enters the air where it stops being only yours. That's day 5. If someone was a lifeline for you this year and they don't yet know it, tell me about them in the comments. I read every single one, and I would like today to be the day a few of those people find out. If this gave you one easier breath, help me pass it on. Like this, subscribe, tap the bell, save it to a playlist. Every share brings one more person into the Zen community. And that's how we build this. Tomorrow, how to ground yourself while the storm is still happening. This is science-backed, soul-supported. I'm Dr. Lisa for the Zen community. Check out the PDF in the comments below if you really do need some help.